Welcome back to the kitchen here at Andersen Acres. Today we are going to make hot cross buns. We love hot cross buns here. They're a lot of fun and they're really easy to make. There are a lot of variations, a lot of things you can do differently, a lot of ways you can change up this recipe if you don't like the specific ingredients. So let's get started. First, you're going to need 1 cup of milk. It's really important that it is milk, not water, because this dough is a very sweet dough and it just turns out so beautifully with milk. It doesn't turn out so well with water. You're also going to want about 2 tablespoons of just a vegetable oil. Yes, I'm not using butter in my dough. Vegetable oil just makes this a much smoother dough. You want 2 tablespoons of sugar. This is a sweeter dough than we've done before, so you do need the extra sugar. We want about a half teaspoon of salt, less salt than we normally use. That's because this is a very sweet dough. We need a little less salt. Also, we want about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Not a ton. There we go. Not a ton of cinnamon, just enough to punch it up a bit. We want 3 cups of white flour. There we go. Less spillage when I use my hand like that. Me learning every day. We also want a heaping teaspoon of just yeast. I'm using bread machine yeast because this pan's going in my bread maker. If you're mixing by hand, you can use traditional yeast. If you want to skip the breaking down of the yeast, the dissolving it in water, you can go with a quick rise. Either way, it doesn't matter. Now, we're also going to need, I'm using a 1/4 cup of currants. I'm not putting them in right now. I do not like to put my currants in with my dough as soon as it starts mixing. I like to mix and knead for a little while, about 10 minutes, then at the end knead in the currants. So they will go in. I'm going to put the pan in my bread maker, wait about 10 minutes. I'm actually going to set a timer for 10 minutes. Sometimes your bread maker will have a buzzer that tells you, or it'll even have an automatic nut and fruit dispenser. So you can use that. I just set a timer for 10 minutes, and then I will throw these in with it. You don't have to use currants. You can use raisins, you can use cranberries, you can use candied fruit, you can use chopped citrus peel, the candied stuff. It's all really, really good. I had someone make them with candied ginger. Those were really good. You can change this up. So if you don't like currants, use something else. You can also leave this out entirely and just make a really beautiful, sweet, hot cross bun with a nice glaze. You don't have to add anything like this. I am adding the currants because I think they'll look really nice and they taste really good. So change up this recipe based on what you like. If you don't like currants, if you don't like raisins, if you don't like cranberries, find something you do like. All right, so it's really very easy. So we're going to throw this in the bread maker. The dough should be ready in about 1.5 hours because we have to allow for the first rise. Remember, all doughs must rise once before you shape your dough. All doughs require at least 2 rises. Some doughs require 3, 4, or even 5 rises. This requires 2 rises. So we'll come back after the first rise and shape our dough. All right, so our dough is ready. At least it's done its first rise. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to divide this into 12 equal pieces because we're going to make 12 buns. You don't really want to do more or less pieces than that with this amount of dough, simply because it really is a dough designed to make 12 buns. You don't want them too big or too small. So we divide it into 4 first, and then we're going to divide each of those 4 pieces into 3. Okay, that's 3. 3, just 3 roughly equal pieces. If they're not exactly equal, it's not the end of the world. But, there we go. So now we have 12 pieces. So we're going to take each of these 12 pieces and we're just going to shape them into balls, pinch them at the bottom. What you want is smooth tops, okay? You just want your top smooth. So you want to make 12 nice smooth balls. Your top smooth is important because if your tops are bumpy, we're going to have trouble slicing crosses into them later. So we're just going to make 12 nice little balls. And they look really good. I mean, look at that dough. That looks really nice with the currants in them. And it's just going to be a beautiful hot cross bun. Now they have to do their second rise, and we actually kind of want square hot cross buns, but I'm making balls because it's really difficult to make dough into squares. But that's okay. As they rise, they'll come together in the pan, and then they will kind of turn into little squares. So we just want to finish up making our little balls because we absolutely want 12 little balls. After that, we're going to have a cake pan. Mine is just like a 9 by 13, I guess, cake pan. Just your regular, larger cake pan. Mine's a glass one. You've seen me use glass pans before. I like my glass pans. I like my silicone pans. We're going to use glass in this case, just because these cook better in a glass pan than a silica. So we're going to take, that was loud. We're going to take our glass pan and we're going to spray it with I'm just using a canola oil cooking spray. But you want to make sure, this is not a silica pan. I use silica a lot, and with silica, it doesn't really matter that much. Even if you forget to spray it, it still doesn't really stick. This is glass. If you forget to spray this or you don't spray enough, they are going to stick. So make sure you coat that pretty well. Then you're just going to arrange. You're going to put 4 down one side and 3 down the other way. Okay, that's all. Just going to equally space them. Then you're going to cover these with a damp tea towel and set them aside somewhere fairly warm. This one's just not pinched quite together. So you're going to set them aside somewhere fairly warm just to let them rise. Now you're going to want to let them rise until they do touch each other. That can take more than an hour depending on the humidity in your location. So I'm going to check after an hour. I'm just going to switch the spots of those ones. So I'm going to check in about an hour, but it'll probably take closer to 90 minutes before these rise enough. They should touch. You want your hot cross buns to touch each other. So set it aside, cover it with a damp tea towel for at least 60 minutes, probably closer to 90. We'll come back and check on them when they've finished rising. Well, our hot cross buns have risen up. They're looking pretty good. We're ready to stick them in the oven. Before we do that, we have to make the actual cross that goes on hot cross buns. We're going to do this with a bread lame, and we're going to do this and then get them in the oven very, very quickly. The oven is preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to cook these for 25 to 30 minutes. So we're going to slash them. I'm going to slash, turn the pan, slash again, so that you have a cross on these buns, and then I am going to pop them in the oven real quick. All right, so when you slice these, remember when these finish rising in the oven, because they do come up a little more when they're in the oven, they'll end up almost like a square. So square like this. So I want my cross to go from corner to corner of that square. So I'm not going to slice like that. I'm going to slice like this. And you're going to do it deep enough. So you don't want to go super deep, but you want it deep enough. And just hold your bun just gently with your fingertips, just so it doesn't move so much, because you don't want to pull too far. Rotate your pan, only a quarter turn. Gash it, gash it, gash. So you're just going to do this all the way down. And then remember, 375 degrees Fahrenheit in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Not less than that. Check them at 25 minutes. Be prepared to leave them for the extra 5 minutes. So these are going in the oven right away, and we'll come back in about half an hour and see how they're doing. So our hot cross buns are out of the oven, and they have been cooled completely. This takes about an hour to make sure all the heat is dissipated. You don't want to try to ice them when they're still warm. So we are going to make an icing. Let's move this up here. What you want is half a cup of icing sugar, about a tablespoon of partially melted butter. Pour that in there. About a tablespoon of milk, not water, and don't use margarine. You want to use the butter. This is an icing. You really don't want that margarine taste. And then just a bare splash of vanilla extract. That's it for a glaze. So you're just going to take your whisk and mix that up. It only takes a minute. Okay, it should be fairly loose because it is not like a royal icing or a cookie icing. This is a glaze. So it should be a little bit loose, just so you can put it on the buns. Putting it on the buns is really easy. We're going to use a basting brush. We're just going to brush it on them just a little bit. It's okay if it glops on one, because then you can just pick it up after with your brush, because when you have a lot on your brush, it's going to stick onto the buns, and then you just come back and grab it later. And after you've put this glaze on, you don't want to serve them immediately. You want to wait about 45 minutes for the icing to finish adhering, and then serve them to your heart's content. So you'll notice after I move on, they start looking better as the icing kind of smooths out over them. There we go. It starts to look really nice, and these taste delicious. Hot crust buns are great for holidays like Easter or Christmas. They are quite traditional at Easter. Ignore the barking dog, we don't really care. He's outside and hates being outside, and that's just the way it goes. He has to stay out there for a couple more minutes. So we're just going to finish putting icing on these and wait for the icing to set, like I said, 45 minutes or so, and then you are ready to eat them. They are quite delicious. Remember, if you don't like currants, you can substitute with raisins or cranberries, candied fruit, candied citrus peel is really good in these, or you can simply leave that out altogether, which a lot of people do. You might decide you would rather just have them plain without any fruit and just ice them. If you're going to do that, maybe add a little cinnamon to your icing. It'll jazz them up a little bit, and people won't even notice that the fruit is missing. So that's them iced. They look delicious, and they are ready to be served in about 45 minutes. So thank you for joining us here today with making the hot cross buns. If you'd like to see more of our videos, please like and subscribe so that we can keep baking for you. See you tomorrow.